Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon,
And I'm Mom.
and thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yep, thank you for joining again.
And Mom, how are you doing today?
I am doing fine. Brandon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
That is so great. And Brandon, I'm so excited.
And why are you excited, Mom?
Well, it is our 100th episode for talking about TV shows, Brandon.
Yes, it is. I'm so excited. And to think we just began this channel in May of 2024, and it's not even May yet, and we're already at 100.
Yeah, I know. That is so exciting. And I'm also excited because we get to talk about Matlock.
Yes, and specifically episode 17.
Yep, episode 17, and it's called I Was That Too. And the episode did air on April the 10th. And just so everyone has some idea, the date of recording for this is on April the 14th. We wanted to record this before the season finale.
Absolutely. And Mom, are you able to do us the honors of letting us know for the 100th time what this episode's about?
Yeah, actually, Brandon, I'm kind of going to give a little bit of commentary while I'm doing this. And so, yes, I decided, and I would say, yeah, I decided that this is an episode I kind of want to talk about. Normally, we just talk about our first episodes or a theme episode or an episode that is a season finale. But this episode came on, and I thought it was so fascinating that I thought that we needed to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it for several reasons. First of all, because this has been a season for Matlock in which they're kind of been building upon each other for every episode. And so I thought this was kind of a turning point in this particular season because the tables were kind of turned on Maddie. And so you ready? And we're going to talk about it.
All righty.
All righty. And so, as I've said, while I've been watching this show all season, I've enjoyed all the twists and turns that have kind of occurred during the season, and some were predictable and others were unexpected. However, I thought this last episode was so well developed that I kind of want to take a little extra time to talk about it. And the main reason why for me was Olympia. Not necessarily Maddie, but Olympia, because I thought Olympia's acting was on point for this particular episode. I liked how demanding that she was. I liked that she was not going to stand for Maddie to lie to her much longer. I thought some of the tactics she used were really kind of interesting, but I just liked the firm stance that Olympia had with Maddie. And then Maddie, on the other hand, to me, for an actor, was pretty well reserved in her acting during these scenes, but it worked for her. But at the same time, even though she was reserved in her acting, I thought that it helped with the characterization also and went along with how the season has been going. Well, and first of all, Brandon, do you agree or disagree with anything I've said so far?
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, this season we have, followed the character of Madeline Matlock or Madeline Kingston as, as she progresses through trying to figure out who hid these documents. But it's so interesting because it's such a turning point within this episode that we find out that not only is Olympia suspicious, but she's been onto her all along.
Yes, she sure has. And I like that the questions were answered for previous episodes in this particular episode itself. Also, there were times while I've been watching, I kind of thought Maddie was kind of sloppy. And I know that has to do with storyline plots and things like that. But I was surprised that no one picked up on some of these details that, you and I have talked about. And so I was happy to see that they wrote it in that Olympia did pick up on some of the details that Maddie kind of dropped along the way. In particular, Alfie's wallet that dropped was one of the things that was picked up on. The pen. There were just so many little things that we kind of wondered why no one picked up on. And I was happy to see that at least someone on the series was able to pick up on these small little details. And then on another note, I also liked the way Sarah and Billy kind of bickered with each other. I thought that was kind of funny because it is typical for them. But Sarah and Billy bickering among themselves was a fun second storyline. It kind of helped you escape a little bit from the other storyline. And it was fun. It was also fun to see Sarah and Billy acting as mini detectives in the episode too, because they did find Maddie and they did wonder what was going on with her and why they couldn't call her. And then also with, of course, discovering her telephone being in Olympia's bag, they kind of went on their own to go and figure things out. So I like the mini detectives that they became. And then I also like that the episode managed to actually include a court case in it too. So as to kind of keep with the same premise of they are lawyers and they do help others. And I like that they included a court case. I thought it was relevant, and it was not a simple case, and it's something that they did need the help of Maddie on. So to show that she is a character who was still important to them, or a person who was still important to the plot itself. And then just the ending that I'm going to talk about very briefly is that the ending was not really a shock to me for the episode. The fact that they showed up at Maddie's house, I mean, after that point, that didn't surprise me. But it will be fun to watch to see how they plan to wrap up, any of these storylines for closure, and whether or not it'll be Jillian at the end, or whether or not it'll be someone else. And I'm sorry for those who are watching. Yes, there are a lot of spoilers here. So, Brandon, what were your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean I fully agree with what you're saying, and I did actually want to take a step back and speak about the penultimate scene of the episode.
Okay, go ahead.
So each of these episodes for this first season of Matlock has ended with sort of like a aha moment, in terms of like a we got you. Oftentimes it's where Matlock is shown to have an upper hand, where you thought that she was, maybe a bit sloppy or had messed up somewhere, and you realize that she was one step ahead. For instance, in the very first episode that we had discussed, we find out that everything had been a ruse, that Matlock had set this all up and that she's not even Matlock. But each episode would continue with this, and there were some times that things have changed up. Like we've had her husband Edwin have one where he set things up. There was one where Alfie did it, and the episode previous it was Olympia, and we're once again continuing with Olympia, where this one's not as much of an aha moment, but it's more of the things we didn't know. And so truly Matlock has had a adverse effect on her, where on one hand she greatly appreciates her, but on another hand, the things that she has done has been like destroying her life.
Yes, yes, very true, very true. And it was nice to see the scenes with Olympia at the end, and to see how she's been affected by everything that Matlock did. And of course, Matlock's not going to know these things, but it was interesting. And even her children were affected by it because they were watching her mother go through pins, just looking for a listening device, and then thinking about her ex-husband and what she was in her mind accusing him of, and things that he didn't do, although he may have done something much worse than that. But at least, for the purpose of her day-to-day life, he had not done anything to her.
Yeah, and speaking of her ex-husband, we do find out that he indeed is the one that has hidden the secret documents that could have taken opioids off the market 14 years earlier.
Yeah, alleged at this point, but yes, he, yeah, that is the person they believe who did it.
And do you believe he acted alone? Do you think he actually did it? Was he acting by himself on behalf of Junior? Do you have any thoughts ahead of the finale?
The only thing that kind of throws me off a little bit is the house, because he mentioned that his mother gave him the money for the house, and I don't know, and that is something he could have made up, immediately. Um, but I just thought that was interesting that this mother, who maybe they've talked about her before and I just didn't realize it, but it's the first time I've heard him directly say something about his mother. And so that's kind of threw me off a little bit. And so, and if so, and if he is the person that's done it, does that mean that next season he's not on the series? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it definitely would be interesting. And I think another dynamic to think about is that let's say that his father, as senior, is a part of it too. Whereas Julian is a primary cast member. I know that really doesn't mean anything. He's a primary cast member, where senior is more of a special guest star, I believe. So, but I don't know. A part of me says it actually might be it might be Julian, but I feel like there's some catch that we haven't been fully made aware of yet, but one that's been in plain sight. I just don't know if that is yet.
Yep, the same here. I believe that too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see sort of how they tie all of this together. I know that they're not going to have everything completely finished by, the end of the season. They've made that, very clear from the very beginning. But I'm curious as to what's going to happen next. Like, I think that there will be something that truly concludes the season and prepares us for season two. But the question is what that will be. And the title for the two-parter is Tricks of the Trade.
Yeah, so that will be interesting to see, and to see also with the plan. Since we knew very early on that Matlock had been renewed for the upcoming year, and so the writers have had some time to kind of think a little bit too, and so my thought is that they are planting something to start the next season, and they very well could have planted it already, and we're just not aware of it, and so it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, with wrapping up the storyline, or will they continue with some sort of the storyline coming on? The storyline will get a little old, so part of me thinks that they will kind of do some sort of wrapping up, but at the same time lead us into the next year.
Yeah. My personal thought is that we're probably going to find out the who and why in terms of Matlock. You know, like okay, was it really actually Julian who did it? We think so, but why? I think that part might be resolved. I think the overall big question going into next season is because I'm sure it's going to be exposed. Is the question is can Matlock be trusted? Because even after this all blows over, I mean, she still has lied to the face of everyone that trust her. So if she were to continue her employment, which I mean, she'd be a valuable asset, and she is one, is how do you progress forward? And a part of me thinks that Billy and Sarah know more than they're letting on. I'm waiting for the big reveal about that.
Yeah, they probably do know more than they're letting on because, especially Sarah, because Sarah is very quick to go and look things up. Even though Maddie said everything's been erased off the internet, there's always a trace somewhere. So I bet that Sarah is able to kind of track down something in regards to Maddie.
Yeah, and I should point out that earlier in the season, about halfway through, I believe it was in episode 11, Matlock ticks off Sarah, and so Sarah, starts trying to dig for dirt on Matlock and says she's suspicious. And so while they've sort of had her being redeemed, so to speak, from that since then, I definitely feel that she still knows something is off. So maybe something will tie into something she'd previously researched. And so I'm looking forward to that. I definitely would love to see a Billy and Sarah reveal before the season concludes, and I hope they continue to have it, have important roles within season two.
Yeah, same here. I hope they kind of continue having them on also. And then something else I kind of thought about was, with Maddie's big reveal, how much if all things equal and they both are returning, meaning as lawyers, of course, for the upcoming year, upcoming year, well, then what are they going to keep secret about Maddie? I mean, how much are they going to tell? I mean, they all know about Alfie, but no one knows about her husband. Will that remain a secret? Or will they finally come out and say that she does have a husband? So those are kind of things you kind of wonder what'll kind of happen, And I mentioned to you that her sister, I think might actually, in my mind, should come back for future episodes, and so it'll be interesting to see if they kind of do that for her.
Yeah, I definitely really like the addition of Bitsy, for the past couple episodes. I know she wasn't in this one we're discussing now, aside from having a flashback, but I feel like she had such a pivotal role in trying to figure out Matlock and sort of the like her. I mean, just the relationship I think is so pivotal to the character of Matlock, both the show and the one that she's playing to her colleagues, because I mean she based it off of her her sister.
Yeah, she did. She did. Well, even her accent is, is not, it's not real. And so, which I thought was interesting that Olympia picked that right up. It's like, will she go back? Will she have an accent when she's speaking to other people? Because she sure brought it back when she was speaking um, to Sarah and Billy.
Absolutely. And so it's definitely interesting to see just sort of the numerous layers within it. And I think this whole series, especially this episode, I mean, have just been so well developed that I feel like everything's just been leading to this moment. Every episode feels like it's going to have that will she get caught moment, but when she actually gets caught, I mean, not to say that you don't expect her to get caught at some point, but at that moment, it somewhat catches you off guard a little.
It did. It did catch me off guard. It did. But it was a nice feeling for this off guard moment.
Yeah, and I will just say too that I hope come next season that we see more of Edwin and Alfie. I know they're both listed as recurring characters, but I really love their presence on the show.
Yeah, I do too. My guess would be that they're going to explore Alfie's father, but just because they brought it up several times, so we'll see how that kind of goes along.
Yeah, it definitely will. And I will just say this quick note too is that for us, in our sitcom world, is that we hadn't realized all of this time that we actually recognized the actor that plays Edwin.
Yeah, we do. I'll tell the audience who he is, Brandon.
Yeah, so the actor Sam Anderson, he had played numerous different recurring characters, but the one we know him from is playing Principal DeWitt on the show Growing Pains.
Yeah, like how many of you guys are surprised to hear that?
Yeah, I mean, I really like him as an actor. Just knowing him from those recurring roles, and so I had no idea, but now and rewatching some scenes ahead of this episode, I was like, how could I not have known?
Yeah, yes. Well, so we'd love to know what you guys think about this pivotal turning point in Matlock and what your predictions are for the last episode. So let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and we look forward to discussing that finale for you very soon.
Yep, we sure do. We thank everybody for watching today.
And we look forward to chatting with you next time.
All right, bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.